Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of the DarkSide podcast, and it's our special post-game show, following day show, whatever you want to call it. It is Seahawks Aftermath. It is me. It is Michael Thompson, and we are going to break down everything from last night's epic win, massive belt to ass of the 49ers, and then we'll obviously start talking ahead to this weekend's matchup, and as we knew it, we were going to have to win this division twice. We've got to play those Rams one more time for the right to go to the Super Bowl in Santa Clara. And so, Mike, how are you feeling now, man? Now knowing that the championship game is set.
I'm excited, right? Like this is the Titanic matchup that we're getting. Part 3, the two best teams in the NFL. I think we kind of knew these have been the two best teams since they first ran into each other in November. They've clearly separated themselves from the rest of the league. I think the Rams have had a much tougher time getting to this game than probably they thought or any of us thought, but they have found a way to survive two brutal road tests, and their reward is to come home to our home at Lumen Field, where the Seahawks just came off of one of their most impressive and dominating home victories in playoff history and franchise history. So two very different vibes as we're going into a game that I think a lot of us probably were a little nervous about. And I think the tide might be shifting a little bit on who would have been the favorite in this game. And I think the odds just came out with the Seahawks as 2.5-point favorites, which if you told me that 2 weeks ago, I do not think that would have been the spread before these games have been played. But that's a testament to the Seahawks. That's where we're at. And you couldn't have asked for more than you want to go to the Super Bowl and be a heavy favorite in the Super Bowl. You got to beat the other bully across the street, and that's the LA Rams.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting. And just so everyone knows, we are not doing our intro video as I am working up on a new one, given all the new clips from the past few months here at the back end of the season. So that will be airing going into the NFC Championship game. So we won't be doing that. But let's talk about this. A statement was made, Mike. Like, we're talking about, to your point, one of the most dominating playoff performances this franchise has ever had. And there's only two other games I can really tag team with this. One, obviously, is Super Bowl 48, where we belt to ass the Broncos. And the only other one I can think of in that building, you want to call it Seahawks Stadium, you want to call it Quest, you want to call it CenturyLink, or you want to call it Lumen. The only other time I've seen a Seahawks playoff victory that dominant was the 2005 NFC Championship game against the Carolina Panthers, where Sean Alexander, Matt Hasselbeck, and that team just ran over Carolina. But again, it felt different last night because it was an NFC West rival. It was a team that we had heard all week from their fans, from their players, that they were ready for this and they were going to take it to us. And then all of a sudden now, all we're hearing is the excuses. You listen to Trent Williams now and be like, oh, well, we were missing our tight end. And this, like, dude, 24 hours ago, 48 hours ago, before this game, you were talking all this shit with the rest of your team and all your fans. And then when you get your bent over and that belt gets applied to your ass by this Seahawks team, all of a sudden, all the excuses come out like it's a freaking raging waterfall at Niagara. Like, to me, that just shows how ill prepared in some respects that team was to come into Lumen and play a team like Seattle that is a complete team. Like, to me, I think the Niners potentially have to do a real hard reset / rebuild of that team with all their aging talent.
No, I completely disagree because David Lombardi, who's the knower of all football or the athletic of the 49ers, this is normal. You're supposed to get destroyed in the divisional rounds. That way the next year you come back and you win back-to-back Super Bowls. That's what he's saying. No, back in reality, that was a very clear defining moment of this rivalry where it's not the Seahawks that have to adjust. Because the Seahawks, we had our heart ripped out in 2019 against the 49ers. We lost the division title at the 1-inch line. 49ers went on to the Super Bowl, and they should have won that game. And the Seahawks essentially kind of fell into purgatory with Pete Carroll. And it took 6 years, a coaching change, and a real draft philosophy change, free agency philosophy change, and then 2 years of building this up to take over the division from the 49ers, who had been running it with the Rams. And last night was the culminating moment of that, where it wasn't just the probably the game week 18 at the 49ers. That was the changing of the guard in theory, if you want to call it that. This was the statement of like, hey, you're probably a reset in some good drafts and some, getting lucky, kind of like what the Rams have gotten really lucky in the draft. Like that's what it's going to take for you to come back in the next year or two. But for now, like this is now a 2-team race between the Rams and the Seahawks until you figure your shit out, San Francisco. But thanks for playing. And what a run by the 49ers. All these division titles, um, all these NFC championship game appearances, all these two NFC championships. And where did it leave them? Nothing. Ringless. They're ringless. Um, and it was so nice to see us on Saturday night not just beat them, but from literally the first 13 seconds to us not throwing a pass for the final 18 minutes of the game, like just an absolute ass whooping. It's almost like they're not even worth the thought anymore. Is how
They
much
really aren't. They really aren't, Mike. Like, this is what's interesting. I've seen a couple different, 49er fans post things on, they were at the game. And there was one guy that posted one, and he'd never been to Lumen. He had heard about how the 49er fans were able to take over. And he basically starts the video and he goes, I've never been in a stadium so loud. I have never seen a fan base care so much about their team and live and bleed their team. And then he goes, there's not a lot of red here. He goes, there's an area which, again, I think gets so overblown where the camera looks from where it's shot at Fox or whatever TV broadcast you're watching.
Section.
That's ticket broker section, which we know teams in the NFL, this isn't just Seattle, but other teams have to deal with. They're trying to get those back so they become more part of the organizational, situation for them to give the tickets away. But that place was rocking. Like I've talked to people that were down there that were at bars in the area that said you could hear the stadium inside bars. It was so loud. That is what it means to be a 12. That is what it means to be a Seahawk fan, is to go there and not shut up for 60 minutes of football. So 3 hours watching, it's a 60-minute game, but that's what it means to be. And if it goes longer, it goes longer like the 2014 NFC Championship game. But this is the first time I can remember in a playoff game for Seattle, outside of 05, when they went to the NFC Championship game in the Super Bowl, starting that fast and just not letting up the entirety of the game. It was like pedal to the metal, we're going. And hopefully 49ers, you don't turn more than just roadkill in front of us, because that's what you ended up being, because you had to watch the kicker try to trip our returner instead of what a weak play from a kicker to go and soccer slide check our returner. Like, you're playing football, man. Eddie, whatever his name is, Pinero, dude, at least throw your body in there. It's the playoffs. Like, don't slide check our returner.
Yeah, I think last night, just to kind of close on these whiner fans and this team, it just was a very clear, like, there's just I keep saying there's a very clear line in the sand of the haves and the have-nots, right? Like, just the way that they handled the defeat, the way they talked about it after the game, the way their beat reporters talked about it, the way their coaches set them up to fail, whining before the game all week about the schedule. Like, just a completely different mindset, a completely different culture than what we have here in Seattle and what we're blessed and lucky to watch as Seahawk fans. Like, I'm just so and that's historically a very well-run franchise. Like, we'd be naive to say otherwise. Like, they are one of the gold standards. That's something that the Seahawks need to strive to become. But we're doing it the right way. And what John and Mike have built is literally like a killing machine. You and I were from the Northwest. A lot of people that watch the show, they're probably Gonzaga basketball fans. There's a great quote about Gonzaga that basically they're absolute gentlemen off the court. They say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, please, and thank you off the floor. But the moment they step on the floor, they will literally rip your heart out and watch you bleed out. And I think that is like a perfect description of this Seattle Seahawks team. You don't hear any shit about any drama. You don't hear anything bad from John or the coaches. They got rid of all the attitude or the guys that weren't bought in this year. They draft guys that are just absolute dogs, like ball knowers, guys that are all in. And then when they step out on the field, they're the most prepared team. They look like they're the most prepared team. They look like they're the most confident team out there. And they just show it, and they don't take their foot off the gas and until they pull their bench out in the fourth quarter, which I felt like we played almost the entire fourth quarter without our bench. It was crazy, but just a complete difference in culture, a complete difference in where we're going as franchises. And it's so exciting. Like the Seahawks they literally killed the 49ers as an organization last night.
The thing for me too, and this is funny, I got to bring this up from Brent in our chat, and for anyone that's in there, if you guys are on Twitter, if you're in YouTube or wherever you're watching this, put stuff into the chat. It'll come through, and super chats get priority as always. But Brent brings us up, and it's a good point. If that kicker got ejected, the 49ers wouldn't have scored any points.
They didn't reach the red zone yesterday.
I know. Right? That was the best part of that too.
The red zone.
Oh man, I know one thing. I'll say this: Kyle Shanahan, I think, will revamp his entire offense in some way, very much like McVay did. He'll have to. But this is one part I want to bring up about this statement win. We didn't do this with finesse. We didn't do this with a passing game. We did this as bullies again.
Yeah.
We literally beat the living piss out of the 49ers. We bully balled them. And to have an offensive line that reestablished the line of scrimmage. And here's the best thing. I don't think if you add Nick Bosa back, if you add Fred Warner, and if you add George Kittle back to this, that they're making up a 30 plus, 35-point difference. Like it's probably, maybe they get set. Like, let's remember, they were all there in week 1 and they scored 20 points, 17 points.
Yeah.
Okay. So you would have added another touchdown plus a field goal to your score yesterday. Congratulations.
Big
like, well done. Well done.
Yeah.
We put up 41. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, this is to me where I look at it and I go, you can't tell me those 3 players make up that amount of difference. You got outcoached. You got outplayed in every facet of the game. And when was the last time you could truly say that about a Seahawks team where you look at it and go, they walked in and beat you from the start of the opening kickoff till the last play of the game in every facet? Brock Purdy was running for his life. He had 413 yards of movement on the field when throwing the ball.
Did I lose you?
Sorry about that. Small little glitch there. There we go.
Yep.
But let's talk about this defense, man. Like, they are terrifying. They had a point before all the starters came out last night, and I think Brett Coleman put it out there, where they had the highest pressure rate of the NFL this season and the lowest blitz rate. Before they took in, and like you said, the fourth quarter was basically all of our backups, and that's what they were doing to Brock Purdy. And Trent Williams was back, mind you. Their offensive line was back. And Brock Purdy was running for his life.
No, you saw it. The bye week was so massive for that pass rush. You know, guys like Leonard Williams, Chenna Nwosu, DeMarcus Lawrence, you know, they're not on their first contracts. These guys are all on their second contracts, kind of hitting their, you know, this is it for some of them maybe, right? This might be the best we ever see some of these guys. And that extra rest and that environment created something so special last night where Mike didn't have to show anything special, because those 3 and Byron Murphy, who is the best up-and-coming defensive tackle in the NFL. I don't care what Philadelphia Eagle fans want to say. They created just an absolute, you know, sinking of the pocket every single time. There was water coming in from everywhere, and Brock had to run for his life. 400 yards, scramble yards. of him running side to side, him holding the ball for almost 4.5 seconds, which hadn't been seen in a decade. Like, Brock is a fantastic pocket awareness quarterback. He knows how to scramble. He's crafty, right? And it wasn't necessarily crafty. Like, he was running for his life, and some of his throws were so incredible. He's throwing it 30 yards, going right, throwing left, just throwing up in the air, hoping and praying, because just the defense is moving so fast. And that was just to get the ball over midfield 2 or 3 times. Like, it literally just looked like we had let our pass rush go unfed for a week, keep them chained up. And then it was, once that game started, it was like, all right, boys, go eat. And they ate, and they just absolutely dominated that game. And also a shout out to the secondary. Like, there was no room to throw. The interception to Ernest Jones, Tom Brady perfectly showed it. Like, there's nothing there for Brock. He has nowhere to run. He has no time to stay in the pocket, and there's nobody to throw to. That Colin Cowherd said that in week 18. This looked like pro versus a college team. It looked the exact same again.
No, I down that a bit. This looked like pro versus high school. At least in college, they would have got in the red zone. At least in college, they would have gotten the red zone.
It reminded me of remember Bama and LSU in the BCS championship that nobody wanted. Yeah. LSU didn't get past half midfield till 4 minutes left in the game. That's what it was. Yep.
So this is an interesting quote from the 49ers, Brendel. He goes, talking just about the Seahawks defensive line from last night. He goes, on the 2 sacks they allowed from the defensive front, this is just the quote out of the article, if the pressure disrupted the timing of the, he goes, I think this defensive front is one of the best in the league at bringing pressure. The key, they are a very selfless group. They rush very selflessly. One guy might pick a guy for the next guy to get him open. You don't see that across the league. You see a lot of more selfish groups. They execute on third downs and second and long, and I feel like if we were more productive on first and second downs, we wouldn't be in those situations. Well, no shit, but guess what this team, you can't do on them? You can't run either. Like, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like, you can't run on this team. You watch Drake Thomas, you watch Tyrese Knight, you watch Ernest Jones just fly around. Like, this to me is what is so astounding about this defense. And I think actually Tom Brady, like, I've gone back and watched the game and listened to his broadcasting, and there were a couple things I thought that Tom did bring up, and again, I still struggle listening to Tom, is he brought up how this defense, one, is the fastest he's seen in a very, very long time. And I think who he's referencing is the LOB of that era that he played in. But two, he mentioned about how this team makes it so hard that they won't give you anything. Like, you have to take the check down because their DBs are so good in coverage. Like, our defensive field is so good in coverage. And then this defensive front just rushes, and they can control their rush. They don't, to the point of the 49ers center, they don't rush as a selfish group. It's all about a group mentality. Their whole thing of mob, mission over bullshit. Like, it's funny how we went from the LOB to the MOB.
Yeah.
Right? No, like, just the whole thing with this team. And, we can talk about it as we want, but like, Rick Woolen had a great game. I know he gave up that almost one reception to Juwan Jennings, but I will say this, he got picked on the route, but old Reek from earlier this year may not have fought through that and made the breakup at the end of that play. This Reek does. He ran through it. He made a play. He broke it up. But like, you look at Ernest Jones causing, fumbles. Like, this is where I'll say, when I figured this game might be out of hand for the 49ers and they might be overmatched, was the timeout and then the Kyle Juszczyk speed option. Like, for a guy like Shanahan, who is supposedly to be this offensive wizard along with Sean McVay, to have Mike McDonald, which he can freak out all he wants. Mike called the timeout. You just couldn't hear it. Like, he called it way before the snap of the ball.
Yeah.
To then come back with that as your play you're going to at this point in the game where you're trying to get some of this momentum back, you're going to go and run speed your fullback into the boundary.
Yeah,
like,
game over.
That was to me where I was like, Kyle is already rattled and he doesn't know how to recover. And he never did. It was check down Charlie for, Brock Purdy, and that was the end of the game.
Yeah, and you could tell Shanahan just seemed really rattled. that whole first half. Just getting on the refs, getting on his own guys, just not like I don't know. It seemed like I know Grant Cohn is an acquired taste for a lot of
Very much so.
people, but he was, and maybe you saw this during your rewatch, but like he was adamant that Brock Purdy had plenty of check down opportunities to at least make this a more competitive game and move the ball down the field. I don't know if you agree with that, but it just seemed like Shanahan has always had an answer. Like you and I would both agree, Shanahan's, he's a master. He's really good at what he does. But in these last 2 games, he has had no answer whatsoever. And there was nothing. I've yet to see any type of response to what Mike McDonald has done to Brock Purdy.
So here's Brock Purdy's passing charts from week 18, 2 weeks ago, to the divisional round. What do we notice about these passing charts? The same amount of attempts with a few more completions for him. The number total is almost identical, right? Like yards, interception, and look at the spread of the ball. Brock Purdy loves to live in the middle of the field. That's one of his areas he feels comfortable, throwing those digs when they're wide open. He was not afforded that again.
No, there was nothing in the middle, in the intermediate section. The Seahawks just absolutely took that away from the Shanahan scheme. Gone. Look at that, gone.
It's gone. There's nothing there. The one on the left is the division.
This looks like Russell Wilson's passing chart.
It looks like a Russell Wilson passing chart, yeah. But like the left side of this chart is from last night. The right side of this chart is from the Week 18 matchup. Yeah. All that flipped was he attacked the left side more than he attacked the right side. Like that's it.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Like that just shows you what this team has been capable of and what they're able to do. And so, like what I'm interested in though is going to be this matchup with Mike and McVay, because the one thing about Mike is, he got embarrassed in that victory and he doesn't take well to that, right? They gave up 400 yards to McVay. And so we'll talk about that in a little bit, but let's talk about this offense, man. And this bully ball we saw. Kenneth Walker has arrived, ladies and gentlemen. Like, that dude ran angry. And by the way, I got to give him credit. Such a good celebration every time he did something well. The conehead thing, because of Lenore calling him a conehead, like that was so good. Like I absolutely loved it. And so many of the offensive line, Darnold and all those guys got in at it on points, but like talk about, like we talked about this as a group, like what do we do if Charbonnet goes down and they don't have the 1-2 punch? Can you lean on Kenneth Walker? I think we found out last night that you can. And that Kenneth Walker understands this run scheme now, and Kenneth Walker's a threat out of the backfield as a receiver. Like, man, Kenneth Walker is doing some special things right now.
Absolutely. Like, the defense was put on a masterclass last night. Rashid Shaheed kicked off and had an amazing start that we'll never forget. But I think it's hard to think about this game going forward and not calling it the Kenneth Walker game. I really do. I think that's how this game needs to be remembered. He was an absolute beast. And for all those people, including myself, that had been frustrated all year with the way that they had shared the carries between Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet, the love-hate relationship this fan base has with Kenneth Walker's running style, last night, it kind of was a real, like, honestly, like a props to the coaching staff. Because, hey, this is why we wanted to keep Kenneth Walker fresh. Because in a moment in the playoffs when we do need him, we're going to treat him like he's freaking Sean Alexander and let him tote the rock like it's 2005 all over again. And he was absolutely ready for the moment. That dude read every single hole perfectly. He cut at the exact right moment he was supposed to. He knew when to turn on the burners. He knew when to follow his blocks. And when he smelled the end zone, that dude turned into Marshawn Lynch and ran through the 49ers' soul to the end zone. The 3 scores, I believe that's a playoff record, right? 3 touchdowns.
And it ties the playoff record. It ties the playoff.
Yeah. And he just was absolutely magnificent. And he allowed the Seahawks to rest Charbonnet, which it sounds like, we'll find out, but it sounds like Charbonnet is okay. But now I think Seahawks fans know, hey, we got a fresh canine coming off a bye, coming off a season in which he probably could have had another 100 carries, but didn't because of Charbonnet. And now he's a guy, I think, after watching what he did against the Rams on that Thursday night game and watching how I actually thought he ran the ball pretty well in LA. If you take away that holding call, that game completely changes. I think he is a real problem for the LA Rams. And I think third time we face them, this could be a game where Kubiak says, hey, I'm giving you the ball 20 to 25 times, and he's going to get 100 and maybe get a score or two. I really do. I think this might be Kenneth Walker. And this is a situation where this dude might price himself out of Seattle with this kind of playoff run. And you know what? Shit, I'm here for it, man. Go get your bag and go get a ring. He's been he was unbelievable last night. Best game of his career, in my opinion, as a Seahawk.
Oh, I totally agree. And the thing I loved seeing was decisiveness. If it wasn't there, he just pressed it and got what he could. You didn't see the dipsy doodle, but like he'd run through people. Like I heard people weeks ago telling me, "Oh, Ken Walker can't run between the tackles. He's not tough enough." Like he never did that. He could run over corners in college, but he can't do it. Like, shut the F up.
Yeah. No, he was
the dude can run through people.
Yep.
Like you watched it last night. He did it numerous times to them. He did it the week before. Like the dude needed some confidence and he's now got some. We're talking about the guy that forced the second most missed tackles in the NFL this year, only behind Bijan Robinson. And the guy in third was Jonathan Taylor. Yeah, he was a cheat code. Both of them. Jonathan Taylor and Bijan Robinson are cheat codes. And sandwiched in between them on that stat is Kenneth Walker. I think Kenneth Walker will
has
be back
way less carries than those two guys and is still second to broken tackles. Like an absolute stud. And that's why I think a lot of Seahawks fans are frustrated because it's like, hey, this guy's a borderline offensive player of the year candidate. Why aren't you giving him the ball more? And obviously the Seahawks had a reason for it. And right now they're being proven right.
I think the biggest thing for K9 now is he's got a system. He trusts the system. He trusts the blocking in front of him. This line has gotten better.
His coaching might be better.
Oh, the coaching's probably a thing about it.
The
like
upgrade that they
I'll
made.
say this, and we'll talk about a little bit about the coaching part at the end of tonight's show because there's a little bit of news with it in some aspects. But you're seeing a guy that got more confidence, understands the scheme, what it's asking of him. If he doesn't try and hit the home run every time, it'll slowly break for him. And all of a sudden, but I'll say this, how vindicating do you think it was for Kenneth Walker to, in some respects, because I know him and Charbonnet are close, but not to have Charbs in there when it's 10 yards or less and be able to actually get the touchdowns after working the way down the field to actually be rewarded and prove, hey, I can pound this in here. But man, another part of this running game about this bully ball, Jalen Sundell might single-handedly have one of the best center pulls I have seen in 10 years. And I'm not the only one that said that. Jeff Schwartz, who was an NFL offensive lineman and elite lineman for years, said that was probably the cleanest center pull he has seen in years. And he absolutely buries the safety that's coming down the run lane for Kenneth Walker's third touchdown. It was so good to see that we can run the ball and just impose our will. Like, and again, it made the other part of that, which is Sam Darnold, not have to go and do anything other than throw under 20 passes. By the way, one of the prettiest touchdown passes in Seahawk playoff history to JSN. But it's just now you see what this team can be. Like if they can do this and control the clock, and to be honest, like that Rams defense to me, I don't think they're going to want to mess with Seattle running the ball the way they are right now. They just don't look built to handle it.
No, for sure.
It could make next week's game very, very interesting for a Rams team that's going to maybe get backed into a corner. And I was listening to Michael Robinson, ex-Seahawks fullback, analyst on NFL Network, saying like, hey, the Bears were more bullies than the Rams. And he goes, Seattle probably wants to play the Rams again because they know they could potentially be the bully to the Rams. And the Rams may not punch in the same weight class in some respects. And I'm not saying the Rams don't have the talent. I'm not saying that. The Rams are a very talented football team.
Right.
We've had a great, like the numbers are almost even across the board, but there is something about this team and the attitude and the swagger that they walk with now, offensively and defensively. Like you go back to that Legion of Boom team and you had the defense, had the swagger, and there was like three guys on offense that had a bit of swagger to them, right? You had Marshawn, you had Doug, and you had Golden.
Shout
That
out
was
to
the
Doug
group,
raising the flag
right?
last night.
By the way, that was awesome. But who do
That's
you
so cool.
now you got to have Jody do it, in my opinion, for the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
But I think you got to have some of the legends there with her, whether that's like a Lofa Tatupu and a Hasselback and a Doug again and a Cam. Like, and now that the 49ers are out, Sherman's ass better be up there. Like, that would, again, energize that crowd to another level. But to what I was saying is this offense has swagger. But some of that swagger, I feel, comes from the Gray Zables and the Robbie Oots and the AJ Barners, like some of the guys that do the dirty work. And I love it. Like Eric Saubert and AJ Barner are a dangerous tight end tandem.
How cool was it for Tom to kind of take a moment after a timeout or on a commercial coming back for him and Kevin to highlight our tight ends, right? And I don't even know, they caught like 2 passes in the entire game, but just highlighting how badass our tight ends were. And the way he talked about it, which again, I understand, I'm in the minority. I'm a big Tom Brady guy and stuff, and I think he's getting better each game, and I understand why people don't like him and stuff. But like the way he described, there's stars and then there's champions. And I think that is a perfect description, which again, he said they have to go earn it. They have to go earn that ring and that trophy. But these tight ends play like champions. They don't play like stars. But you can also make a case the Seahawks aren't hosting the NFC Championship if our tight ends, Barner and Saubert, don't make the plays they've made this year. And by the way, Barner's probably like the most underrated tight end in the NFL now. And I'm sure he'll have a moment here in this playoff run. But just the way he talked about it just was like he got it. Like this tight end room just fits the culture of this Seahawks team. Mission over bullshit.
Eric Saubert is probably the most underrated addition this year to this team. And you can recall this. I mentioned this back when we got him in the offseason, saying how Eric Saubert is going to be such a vital and key part to the Seahawks offense. That dude blocks so well. He's a reliable target, as we saw in the Thursday night clash. But like, Oots is figuring out now how to play fullback. Like, just some of his blocks and not just just plain nastiness. Like, this is what's gonna be interesting though, is if Charbonnet is able to play, which all intents and purposes will be interesting to see what Mike says tomorrow.
Right, yeah.
Sounds like he's okay. He escaped some sort of, I think he jammed his knee is what happened when he went to put his knee in the ground. I think he jammed it or something like that happened. But
I'm just happy he didn't get a concussion. Because that looked rough.
That did look rough. But to the point of, do you bring up Cam Akers next game or do you bring up Jones again? Because you got Akers there. And I to be honest, I would probably lean to, not saying Jones didn't do a good job, but I might lean to Cam Akers a little bit.
Get in the Rams' head a little bit?
Get in the Rams' head a little bit. Like, why not? Like, see, Cam Akers was on that team that went to the Super Bowl and won. Like, let's not forget.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
Get in their heads a little bit. Like, but to me, there's so much about this team to like because it is a lunch. It takes after their head coach, who is a mission over bullshit guy.
Yep.
And I got to give credit. Someone brought it up today on Twitter. I think it might have been a good friend of the show, Chris Clough. And he wrote a really interesting, here it is. So he goes, Mike McDonald has Holmgren's coaching genius, because Mike Holmgren was a genius coach when he was coaching, but without the ego. He has Carroll's culture building acumen, but without the chaos and drama. This is why I think he will be more successful than both of those Super Bowl coaches. And I tend to agree, because I think that is such an accurate representation. You are dealing with a guy that has no problem admitting when he is screwed up. Take a look back to the Tampa Bay game. That is on me. We were not well enough prepared, and that is solely on me. I don't feel that we've ever been that ill prepared since that date. Since that game. Even the Rams game in the Classic.
Yeah,
I think it was just the Rams were on it. I don't know if we were that ill prepared. But on the flip side, look at the way these guys play for one another. Like, I don't know if you saw the video of Spoon going into the tunnel after the game. He was angry that they pulled out the starters. He's like, we still needed to wax these guys. Why'd you take us out? Like, that's the intensity, but you don't have the drama here. Like, JSN gets headbutted by Lenore, which, by the way, I hope they throw the book at that fucker.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for my language, but I'm not.
No, I hope he gets suspended, and I hope he gets suspended, and I hope we see him on that first Thursday night of the season.
But to do that, and then you watch an all-pro receiver like Jason, the best receiver in the NFL this year, bar none, just kind of look around and be like, really? Like, that's what you're going to do? You think if that had happened to DK Metcalf, what happens? He's grabbing the face mask. We're getting the 15-yard. We're being moved. Like, and at the same token, do you think, and I'll ask you it this way, do you think Geno Smith could have played in a game last night like Sam Darnold did, where you're not being asked to throw the ball that much and you're just handing it off the whole time? Do you think Geno could have handled that?
You know, my mind says, like, it's tough. My answer is no. Like, my answer is no. I really don't think so. I do think that Geno chose this path, right? Geno could have been in this situation, but we'll never know. Right? He could have been in this situation with this team, this roster, and who knows how this would have turned out. I don't know if we win 14 games. Maybe we win 15 games. Maybe we win 11 games. I don't know. But Geno chose this path, and that says enough about me that I agree with your statement where Sam did choose this and knew what he was getting himself into and played elite game manager football last night. Like, he's getting no credit. That touchdown throw to JSN was an absolute dime. That 2nd and 20, when the game was still very, very early from being decided, was a massive 2nd and 20. Beautiful overlaying the throw to Cooper Kupp to get that first down. And then that 3rd and 10 to Bobo, man, he just put it on a just bullseye. And in those 3 throws, and that's how the NFL is. Tom Brady said it last night. I feel like I keep talking about Tom Brady's broadcast, but like he said it, there's 3 to 10 plays a game that decide these games. Those 3 plays were probably 3 of the 10 ones when the game was still on the line. What if Seattle kicks a field goal there instead of a touchdown to JSN? What if Seattle doesn't hit that Cooper Kupp play and they have to punt? They don't score points there. What if they don't get the points before halftime, the touchdown before halftime because of Bobo? Again, Seattle probably wins, but that might end up being a 23-14 type of game. You just don't know how that completely changes everything. And I thought Sam stepped up to the moment and what he was asked to do. I would give him an A on a grade scale.
For me, this feels really interesting with what Seattle has done at the quarterback position. You move off of Matt Hasselbeck, who was all about the city and the franchise and everything, and you move to Russell. He still is, and you move to Russell Wilson, who was that for a period in time, right?
And then
it changed, and it became about Russ, and it became about let Russ cook, and it became about him and his legacy.
Yes.
Then you move to Geno Smith, who had his redemption arc in 2022, but then it started to become more and more about Geno and feeling slighted and not appreciated. And I'm going to show you by sitting out Titans practices in the preseason, and I'm going to do this. And then you've kind of come full circle again back to that guy that, hey, everybody has kind of, overlooked me, said I'm washed. I'm going to go to a situation, and it's going to be about the team. I don't care if we throw it 17 times and I don't throw for 200 yards, but when I do throw it, I'm going to make it count. Like your point, the Bobo completion, Cooper Kupp completion, the 2 of them that he had at different points to Kupp in this game, the JSN touchdown. But you know what? If my running game's working, I'm just going to hand the ball off. Cool, I'm good with that. Like, there's something about Sammy. You just listen to the way, and his presence is, I'm all about the team.
Yeah.
It's not about me and what I do. And, Mookie brings up a really good point in here. And Mookie Alexander, our boss over at Field Goals there, managing editor, Mookie goes, the Rams game is going to be the ultimate narrative buster for Darnold if he plays well and Seattle wins. 100%.
Exercising all the demons.
Well, and plays well to me is not 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 40 attempts.
Right.
Playing well to me looks like last night. Playing well to me looks like week 18.
Find a way to win.
Find a way to win.
Yes.
Make the key throws when they're there, and then let the rest of your team do their part. And this is the interesting thing for me when I look at this. We kind of put the league, the playoffs, the league, whatever you want to say, on notice.
Hell yeah.
I don't think there's anybody in the AFC that is looking forward to playing the Seattle Seahawks or even the Rams in the Super Bowl. And if I'm a team, if I'm Denver or if I'm the Patriots, I'm sitting there going, please, LA, can you please win? Because at least your defense isn't as terrifying.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think New England loses that game if CJ Stroud cuts his turnovers in half, possibly, right? Like that game was a 12-point game, and I know that D'Amico Ryans quit at about the 4-minute mark with that punt, but like if CJ Stroud doesn't throw up on himself this postseason, which that's a story for a later day. Oh my goodness, buddy, what happened to you? But like if he doesn't throw up on himself in that game, New England's in a dogfight. And I thought today was very clear. New England and Houston are not even in the same zip code. Now, New England could go to Denver. They should win. They probably will win. Drake May is an elite talent. He's going to finish second in the MVP voting, or he might surprise some people and get the whole nod. Mike Vrabel's a great coach. They've got a good defense. They're going to be very well prepared. I think Seattle would be a 5.5-point favorite in that Super Bowl. I really do. I think they would be a 5 to 5.5-point favorite, and all the money would come in on Seattle. That's not just like you and I. I think that's just the vibe, is everyone would think that. Denver, even with Bo Nix, would have been a sizable underdog to the Seahawks. Now you have Jared Stidham. Maybe they have a Nick Foles miracle play or a game against the Patriots. There's neither of those teams. I feel like Seattle, I expect them to win by 2 scores if they made it to the Super Bowl. You give Mike McDonald 2 weeks to prepare for May. Buddy, I don't know. I know that guy is amazing against the pressure, but that team has not seen anything compared to what the Rams or the Seahawks bring. This, like, I will be so excited. I will be so nervous if the Seahawks make it to the Super Bowl. I will be, very anxious as the game goes on. I'll be nervous they're going to lose. But I truly believe, and I think you feel the same way, Sunday night is the proverbial national or the Super Bowl.
Oh, it's the Super Bowl. It is the Super Bowl. It's 2013. It's the Super Bowl again.
Yep,
and
100%.
I got to give Crafty Southpaw here is a Niner. He put that in the chat. Appreciate you being here. He goes, I remember people thinking that swapping out Geno for Donald
Not you
was
and
a
I.
lateral play. Their teams ended the regular season on polar opposites at the end of the year. Yeah. People thought it was a downgrade.
No, I think that was the very first article I ever wrote for Field Goals was, hey, it sounds like Sam Darnold is very likely to end up in Seattle. And I wrote an article basically talking about how I think it's a really good fit. I think at worst case scenario, he's about what Geno's been. And at best case scenario, we might fall into having a top 10 quarterback. And I was like, man, these comments are insane. What did I get myself into over here at Field Goals and stuff? And lo and behold, we're hosting the NFC Championship with Sam Darnold while Geno Smith, his Raiders have the number 1 pick in the draft, and he's probably going to end up in Miami or Cleveland this offseason.
So just another kind of credit to the 12s. So I think it's Tony Softly. He was a former St. Louis Rams VP of player personnel, Carolina Panthers. He's a college, a lot of different titles. Goes, I've been in a lot of noisy stadiums, but tonight from the opening kickoff to the end of the third quarter, the 12s have not sat down. They have stood and have been screaming total madness. Ton of respect for the folks called the 12s.
Yeah, I wrote about that on my 4 Down Territory that came out today, that last night was the night that this era of Lumen Field becoming the home field monster that it had been in previous iterations, Quest Field, CenturyLink. Like, this is when Lumen Field came alive last night. And I don't know have you seen that clip on social media of the person that was taking a video of the stadium from one of the towers outside the stadium?
And you can
just see the angle. Oh, dude, just beautiful. But yeah, like you and I and many others, we've been talking shit about our fan base for 5-6 years, about how our fan base has not shown up. I don't know about you, but I've been to 4 straight 49er wins in Seattle, and they sucked. They were not fun to go to. We did not show up for big games, and this stadium, I think really showed up on that Thursday night win over the Rams. I think that's really when the tide started to turn. And then last night was just, it clicked in of like, again, oh man, like not only are we road warriors, but we've created a dominant home field advantage again this year.
So this is interesting. Grant Cohen, again, to your point, kind of
Yeah.
a guy that's
Hey,
got
bud.
he he put this up on social media on Twitter. Goes, what separates the Seahawks and the Rams from the 49ers is offices. Those teams have great general managers. The 49ers don't. And I got to bring this up here. Matt Moses, a 49er. Appreciate you being in here, man. And again,
Yeah, man.
appreciate all the 49er fans that have been in and out of the chat over the recent that aren't trolls in here, but actually want to have educated conversations with the rest of the Hawkeye fan base. Goes, you guys kicked our butts. Much respect. Always been a classy fan base. Go beat the Lambs. Appreciate that. And that's the intention, man, is I know one thing we can kind of unite on is our hatred for the LA Rams. So appreciate you being in here, Matt. Man, like, think about the opposite of this. I'm just going to throw this out here before we get on to the Kubiak part and talking about this coaching thing, because I've heard some things, but imagine being a Denver Broncos fan right now.
So my boss and my coaching partner, I coach high school basketball on the side. He is a lifelong diehard Denver Broncos fan. And so just like we've been in the wilderness the last half decade, that dude had a Super Bowl title with Peyton Manning, and then he has been wandering for 10 years. And then for this team to have the year they've had, the magical run, like, I just remember texting him last night, like, dude, I am so sorry. And all his response was brutal, ... And he called me this morning. We were talking a little bit basketball, and he was just like, dude, I just don't know what to do with myself. Like, one, why did we run that play with him? Why not just hand it off to our running back and go straight ahead to get into field goal range before they obviously made some more moves? But like, could you imagine if last night, like, hey, Sam Darnold snapped something or JSN snapped something, like, it feels like he told me, he says, I would have rather have lost than have won and had that happen, which I don't necessarily agree with, but it's hard to like not understand the way he feels. Like, that is absolute devastation. You have this, and then it's like, it's the same as like the Halliburton tearing his rupturing his Achilles like 5 minutes into the game 7 of the finals. It's just an absolute gut punch, and it completely changes the dynamic of the playoffs.
It really does. And but are we potentially in a situation where it's a Jeff Hofstetler type of situation with Jared Stidham?
Nick Foles, little Nick Folesy
Little Nick
against
Foles,
the
right? Like
Patriots.
we're in that kind of situation where, again, Stidham's been with Sean Payton for a long time, and it'll be interesting to see. But I will say this: I think the Bills got screwed out of that game.
I agree. Really quick on the backup thing. So Nick Foles and Jeff Hostetler were on legit, like, probably two of the top 25, top 20 Super Bowl championship teams of all time. Like, that defense of the Giants was incredible, and that team could run the football and had, just that they beat a great Buffalo Bills team. The Eagles is like an all-star team. If you go back and look at that roster of all those guys in their prime, that Eagles team was an absolute monster. I don't think the Denver Broncos are in that same realm as those two teams. And so that's where I give the Broncos like a 10 to 15% chance to win and stuff. But to ask them to win this game and then to go beat the Rams or the Seahawks, I would say it's like a 2% chance.
Yeah, it's it'll be interesting, but it's interesting too is Ben DiNucci, Seattle Dragons, quarterback from back in the day, was working for CBS CBS yesterday, reacting to the Bo Nix injury, and just signed today with the Denver Broncos as their practice squad quarterback. So, it'll be interesting. But let's talk a little bit here, Mike, obviously on the coaching carousel a little bit, and we'll get into some Rams Seahawks talk a little bit. But obviously Udinski and Schwartz seem to be the two leading front runners right now in Cleveland. It sounds like Halfley's a leading candidate in Miami as well as Tennessee, where it's Matt Nagy down there. And it sounds like Robert Saleh's very much a candidate that they're considering in Tennessee there. This is going to be interesting. I know we talked about it a little bit last night, especially off the air at the end of the live show with Dan. But the only team I see out there legitimately that could potentially be interested in Clint Kubiak is the Baltimore Ravens. There are family ties there with, Gary having coached there for a while and so on. I feel like Baltimore, is going to come down to either they like Kubiak or they like Minter out of LA.
Right.
And I just look at Baltimore and I don't know if they pivot to offense. I just don't know if they do that and they don't go with Minter and try and rebuild, because it wasn't like their offense was the problem this year. It was the fact their defense could not stop anybody. So I wonder if they lean into that. What are your thoughts on this now that Stefanski's been hired in Atlanta? It seems like some of these teams are starting to find their footing. And realistically, Kubiak can now not be interviewed until the 26th of January. So a whole nother week goes by where they cannot talk to him at all.
Yeah, I think what you're looking at is there's a couple of key guys here that kind of, just like in sports with the free agency, guys will pick their spots after the top guys make their picks. And that was definitely Stefanski. He was the top offensive mind. Harbaugh, I think everyone knew he was going to the Giants. And then you have Shula and Minter. And maybe I'm missing someone, but I think those are really like your core four guys. And then just below that tier is Kubiak, in my opinion, and Halfley and some of those guys. And you could throw Saleh in there again if you want to as well. But I think it seems really hard to imagine a scenario where Minter doesn't get a head coaching job this year. And if I'm any of these guys, like I think the Ravens is still a really good job, right? Loyal fan base, a loyal owner. Do you believe that Lamar is going to age well into the next 5 years? That's probably a big selling point. But you get to really remake that defense in however you want. I'm curious with Minter. Do you think the Harbaugh, Biscotti, I think that's the cookie, relationship is good enough post-fire that they would still go bring in a lifelong type of Harbaugh guy again? Or do you think that actually helps him get that job? Is cool, we get to bring another Harbaugh guy in, but he's not Harbaugh, so he can build his own thing. Like McDonald. Like, I think the Ravens would love to trade us 2 first-round picks for Mike McDonald, but that's not going to happen. So do they go get, I don't want to say discount Mike McDonald, but if they want to go get discount Mike McDonald, do you go do that? Like, it just feels like it's Minter or Shula for that job, right?
I think Shula is going to end up being the Pittsburgh head coach.
And that's where I think he would rather take that job.
I think if you had to if I had to put money on it and I was going to go to Vegas and put some money on it, I would put Shula to Pittsburgh, Minter to Baltimore.
Over Saleh.
Yes. I think Saleh goes to Tennessee. I think Halfley goes to Miami. Yeah. That leaves what? Vegas,
and
Cleveland, and Arizona.
I think Schwartz, Flores. Daboll,
I think Flores ends up in Vegas with Daboll as his OC. I think Schwartz or Udinsky will get the Cleveland job.
Yeah.
And here's a twist. I think Arizona is where Mike McDaniel goes. Because I wonder if Saleh takes Clay Kubiak with him to Tennessee to work with Cam Ward, where he actually gets to call the plays rather than not. I could see being how that all shakes up. And I'm going to bring this up right here. I think it was, there it is. Ian Victor, one of our moderators in the chat here, goes, Arizona is high on Vance Joseph. So there's
okay? Do it. Definitely do
Go
it,
with
Cardinals.
Vance Joseph.
Do it, Cardinals. That'd be great. That's awesome. You should definitely do that.
And then he says, I see Baltimore going with Minter. I do as well. I think that's a very key part. But I don't know, man. After
it's starting to look like Kubiak's not going to get anything.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, like I think Stefanski's hiring in Atlanta really kind of put the damper on that a little bit.
And here's the thing is, like, this year there's so many openings, so it's like,
Yeah.
oh well, you don't know what next year's going to be. And yes, there's a couple of like blue blood, if you want to call it the NFL blue blood jobs that opened up. Like, yes, the Giants, when that family's committed to being the real deal, that is historically a great franchise. The Ravens and the Steelers are historically loyal, great franchises. Those are good places to be head coaches, right? You get money, you get job security as long as you do a good job. Like, those are big time jobs. I think the rest are kind of shit. I think the rest of the jobs historically are rough. You may like Cam Ward. That owner is crazy. The Miami Dolphins are historically poorly ran franchise, even as nice as Miami might be. Mike McDaniel is a very good coach, and he could survive there. Cleveland's a shit show. Arizona's a shit show. Las Vegas is a shit show. Like, those are brutal jobs. You wait next year, who knows what pops up? Maybe the Dallas Cowboys job opens up if Schottenheimer doesn't get them to the playoffs next year. Maybe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers job opens up that still has some really nice pieces on offense for a Kubiak. You know, like I just wonder what jobs open up, which coaches retire early, right? Does how much longer does Sean McVay go before he ends up taking the broadcasting money? Like, again, you just don't know. I just think there's a lot better jobs out there where you always know every single year either the Cardinals, the Raiders, the Browns, the Panthers, or the Jets are going to be open. Those jobs are always out there. Don't take those jobs. Unless they're going to give you full control of the franchise, don't take those jobs.
No, I agree with you. And here's something that's interesting. You know, let's kind of talk about this Rams game a little bit here, Mike. You know, we'll get into it for a bit, and then we'll get to our 12s. And I know all of you guys are in the chat right now putting great comments and questions in, so I'm keeping aware
really
of
good
that.
Stuff, guys. You're killing it.
You know, Chris put up this, and I kind of tend to agree with him. Stafford's passing line from game one when they went to LA and lost.
Yeah.
15 of 28, 130, 2 touchdowns.
Worst game of the year.
Worst game of the year. The shortened week was the Thursday night game, right?
Yep.
He went 29 of 49, 457, 3 touchdowns, big game.
It's really awesome when Puka's wide open the entire game. Yep.
Right. But the key thing, and Chris says this, he goes, I fully expect something more like the first matchup for Stafford than the bottom one versus the Thursday night game. Mike said he put too much extra on guys on the short week.
Yeah.
We will see a dominant defense again next Sunday. I agree. And you got to remember, the Rams now are coming on a short week back to, you know, Seattle. They're going to have to come here and play. They've just been having the last 2 East Coast trips. They're, going to be tired. They played one extra game. Seattle has an opportunity, and the weather may not be as great for Stafford throwing in the rain, which is not ideal thing. He does not, again,
We glitch out again.
And Mike, I froze again. Apologies.
Oh, so okay. So you were saying the weather. Last I heard was that the weather's might be a little bit wet. It's not.
Yeah.
It's
not great for Stafford, right? He doesn't do well in the bad weather. But how do you feel? Like, what do you think the key lies in this game? Outside of the obvious, which everyone will talk about this week, and we already know it, is Sam Darnold can't turn the football over. Like, thank you, Captain Obvious. That's football. Don't turn the ball over.
Yeah, I think the story is going to be just one, can the Rams survive the first quarter? That's good, Mookie. I think, can you survive the onslaught? The 49ers could not survive the onslaught, and the game was over 10 minutes into the game. The Rams, like you said, East Coast, dogfight, need a game-winning touchdown to beat the Panthers. A week later, they go to the frozen tundra of Soldier Field. And in my opinion, and maybe you disagree, I assume you watched the game, Bryce, but I thought the Bears gave that game away. I thought that was a masterclass in, I know Rob Staten has talked about it a lot. I think we've talked about it a lot. This fear, this aversion of kicking field goals and taking the lead and just putting some points on the board, especially in an environment like that today, in the way that your defense played. I'd be so pissed at Ben Johnson if I'm the Bears defense. Like, just kicking some field goals.
Kick some field goals, please.
Yeah, like I think when you're at home, I actually do think kicking the field goals. I'm a little bit more pro doing that. I think that's something that you can rely on the crowd, and then it just kind of goes back to again, like there's just a lot against the Rams, an extra game, this weather. How do they respond after playing in such a cold game? Those guys looked so freaking cold tonight. And then you got to come to Seattle where that place is rocking. This is not the 49ers. This is not the Packers. This is not one of those premier franchises that's going to get 25% of the stadium. They're not. That place is going to be 95% Seahawk fans. The only thing that's going to be taken up is that little section, right? I don't think I know any Rams fans in my life. I don't know if you know any Rams fans. I don't think they're actually real. I think the only ones that are real are in St. Louis, where that's where I grew up thinking of the Rams as the St. Louis Rams. But then the game's going to be decided in the trenches. And I think that these two teams are going in a different direction lately since that Thursday night game. I think since the Rams put a lot of yards, put some points on the Seahawks, like you said, Mike McDonald acknowledged this is why he's such a good coach. He just acknowledges what is happening. It's just a matter of fact, and we're going to fix it. And since then, I think the rush defense has hit even a whole new level. They are the great wall. You do not score on them, man. You do not run the football on them. We have seen some really good rushing teams and really good running backs just get nothing against them. And on the flip side, I think teams are starting to run on the LA Rams. The Panthers had some success running the football. The Bears tonight had some success running the football. Where they didn't have success was in those 3rd and 2. I've never seen a game where so many times a team got into 3rd and 2 and then ran their shittiest run plays against the Rams. Like over and over and over. It couldn't be 3rd and 4. It couldn't be 3rd and inches. 3rd and 2, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 2. And I think if you're Kubiak, you watch that film. Hey, what didn't work for the Bears? Cool. I can work around that as the Seahawks. And then on the other side, I think our offensive line is getting better and better and better. And I think the Rams defensive line is starting to wear down a little bit. It's not as dominant as it once was. And I just personally think this is a game that you kind of go back to old school football. You lean on this crowd. You lean on your special teams. You play defense. You stop the run. Do what everyone is trying to do. And I thought the Bears did a decent job, but when they made a mistake, it cost them the game. As you try to figure out how to make life tough for Puka Nacua, you get pressure without blitzing on Matt Stafford. You trust your trenches. And then I run the rock, man. You run the rock. You run the rock. You run the rock. And when those opportunities show up for Sam, you trust him. But I think this game is going to look a lot like the 49ers game in Santa Clara week 18. I really do. I think the Rams are in serious trouble in the first 15 minutes. And if they can survive that, then it's game on. But the Seahawks have a chance here to go up 2 or more scores really quick if they just go right at the Rams and then know when to take the points. I think the Bears missed that opportunity. I think the Bears should have won this game tonight. I really do. And I don't think Seattle's going to make the same mistakes that Ben Johnson and his ego allowed him to make.
So the one thing I do want to see in this game from Seattle's offense, I think that we're going to be able to take advantage of with the Rams, because the Rams are going to sit at the sticks in 3rd and long situations.
Yes.
It's what baited Sam into those picks. This is where, okay, Kubiak, you paid attention. Run some double moves. Run a sluggo. Run a stutter climb route. Like, do some things out of the ordinary that aren't your normal bread and butter to get those bread and butter things back open. But the other thing is lean into your run game.
Yeah.
Lean into Ken Walker. Let your linemen go do their job. It's one of those things where I feel like Seattle has every opportunity to control this game. And you know what? The one thing I'll say in the last game here against San Francisco that I liked, even though it didn't convert into anything, was the shot to Shaheed.
Yeah.
That scared the 49ers a bit, I think, in some respects. And
then we went right back to running the football right down their throat.
Exactly. And
I think you've hit a point where the offensive line has improved enough since that Thursday night game that Sam does have time for these receivers to do their double moves. I don't know if they had that time on week whatever it was, 16 or 17 against the Rams, where now I think he does have that time.
And the thing for me also in this is I got a weird feeling, Mike. I just got this feeling Cooper Kupp's going to go off.
He looked good. He looked good yesterday.
like Cooper Kupp looked like playoff vintage Cooper
Yeah.
Kupp in a lot of ways. And I could just see a situation where they get so hyper focused on Shaheed and on JSN
Yep.
that all of a sudden Cooper Kupp just starts killing the Rams. And how, like, just imagine the stat line. Seattle wins, right? Seattle wins the game. And we're talking about going to Santa Clara, and the stat line reads Cooper Kupp 8 of 10 for 120 yards and a touchdown. Like, just has that vintage Cooper Kupp game where it's like somehow Cooper found his like legs.
You cut me.
Yeah,
Right? Like that
exactly,
kind of
right?
game.
Like
Yeah.
that moment where Kupp just goes off and like everyone kind of goes like, holy crap. Like those AFC teams see Seattle coming going, okay, we got JSN, but has Cooper Kupp found life again? They've got a
Yeah.
running game and now Cooper Kupp's playing like receiver too. Like, holy crap. Like, because man, some of those routes Kupp was running last night and just Sam, it seems like has started to find the trust more in getting Cooper the ball. Like it was, you could see the 2 weeks it paid off.
It felt different.
It did feel different. I got to bring up something funny on the screen here that I think is
Yeah.
a great meme that I am going to make sure goes into my Discord here. So let me bring this up onto the screen right now. I think this is very representative of the game. I think that is great. I'm going to take the thing off the top. I apologize, everyone that's got the thing that's sitting over top of you. Hold your horses for 1 second. There we go. Mission accomplished, my dude. Quest for 6. They did it, guys. Just had to bring that up.
My
I think
dad's
that's a
a
real
49ers fan, and we talked at halftime, and then we talked for the first couple minutes of the third quarter, and then once we got that other touchdown, he hung up on me. He hung up on me.
Wow.
He was pretty pissed.
Well, sorry, not sorry, kind of a thing, right? Like, you know.
Hey, it's his fault. When I was a kid, he brought me to Seahawks training camp in Cheney. So, he raised that's his fault. He shouldn't have let me hang out with Mike Holmgren when I was 9 years old.
All right. Well, Mike, what do you say? Let's talk to the 12s that are in here. We've got, a bunch of these, so it's been really great. We got a couple of donations, so let's start with that. Peter in the chat. Peter, welcome back, man. Appreciate again last night all your contributions and donations. I'm hoping that video for you was worth every ounce of taking the harassment when you were down in Vegas. But he goes, it looks like that dream scenario. 49ers or Rams get sent home from Lumen Field. Then the Pets in Santa Clara. I hate the Niners and the Rams. Go Hawks. Yeah, I would.
Can you imagine like what the next 30 years is going to be like if we win a Super Bowl is in the 49er stadium before they do?
I will never let any 49er fan.
That's what I'm saying. We will always have that over them. There's going to be a fan that has the money that's going to make the most beautiful banner ever of our Super Bowl championship, and they're going to bring it to Santa Clara for every single Seahawks and Niners game, and it's going to get destroyed by security, and then we're going to bring in another one. Like, that's something you're going to hold over them forever.
Dude, I so badly, if Seattle can get to the Super Bowl and win it, I want to see like Robbie Oots and AJ Barner have a 12 flag and just stab it in the middle of the field.
Like Baker Mayfield.
I know the Niner logo won't be on there, but just knowing that we literally drove our flag into your field, having won the Super Bowl. And guess what? If it was the flip side and Seattle ever hosted a Super Bowl and the Rams or the 49ers got there, I would not expect anything less in a way. Like you are literally about to win a Super Bowl in your most hated rival stadium.
Do you know how much fear we would give the Rams if we win the Super Bowl, knowing that we would be the heavy favorite next year to win the Super Bowl again?
Yeah,
and the Super Bowl's in their stadium. Like, talk about like a NFC West tour of cute stadium. Would be a shame if your rival won the Super Bowl in it.
Yeah, Peter back in with a $2 donation goes, B. Perna had some sad but hilarious videos after. Yeah, he definitely did. Peter, again, another $2 donation. Man, you're on fire. Appreciate the support. Any teams have no turnovers in these playoffs? There's only one, I believe.
Yeah, like Tom said last night, I promise this is the last time I'm going to talk about Tom Brady broadcasting. He said, if this team doesn't turn over the football, I don't know how you beat them. And that's, again, just kind of leans into Bryce's game plan for Sunday and why I think Seattle's – I feel I'm nervous, right? I think the Rams are the second best team in the NFL, and it's
Oh yeah.
probably going to be close to a 50-50 style. But I think the advantages of winning the 1 seed is going to be felt on Sunday. But that game plan is strong. You run the ball, you keep the MVP off the field, you punish this defense that has been on the field a ton against Carolina and a ton against the Bears. You punish them, you punish them, you punish them. You hold on to the football, and Sam makes good choices. I think you're going to suffocate the Rams on Sunday.
There is definitely an opportunity for that. So here we go. John McGrath, moderator of our chat. DarkSide Part 2, The Silence of the Lambs. I love it. But actually, this is Part 3. In theory, this is Part 3. So return, what do we want to call this? Return of the DarkSide for the Rams. That's what they should be worried about, I think, is a pretty good
How
one.
cool is it, though, man? How cool is it? Part 3, the 2 best teams in the NFL.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
Actually,
I'm going to trump this. I'm going to trump this, Mike. Instead of the Dark Side Rises, like Dark Knight Rises, the Dark Side Rises. I think I'm going with that this week. This is going to be the Dark Side
Seahawks
Rises.
Need to hire you for their PR, their marketing.
Oh, no, man. The Seahawks PR was on fire.
They were so good. I love the SpongeBob
so
one.
Good.
The SpongeBob one.
So good.
You want to see me do it again?
CK Seahawk in here. I have a feeling this Sunday is the Super Bowl. Totally agree with you on that one. Ian Victor, another moderator of our chat here, goes, you can beat the Rams. There's a legit cracks within the defense. Have to take advantage of when Stafford throws interception-worthy plays, unlike the Bears, and protect the ball. Yeah, again, the Bears, stupid fourth downs and their turnovers tonight, like, killed them. Like, absolutely killed them. Even the last one, like, not again, DJ Moore doesn't run in front of the safety's face, runs behind it.
Oh, so bad.
Like, if you just run in front of the safety's face, you catch that, you're in field game. It's game over.
Yeah.
Also, so
don't get greedy there. That's another situation where I hope we learn. Don't get greedy. You had the Rams tired and on their heels. Run it down their throat and finish the job. Don't, just so frustrating. Whatever.
Agreed. Brent comes in with, alrighty, we need to utilize the hell out of Oots and the blocking tight ends and receivers and get that run game humming. I totally agree. Totally agree with you. Play smash mouth football. Bully ball it all day long. Johnny comes in with Sharp's expected to play next week. We haven't heard anything because the team has no Mike McDonald show obviously today or any of that stuff. So we'll probably find out more tomorrow morning with Brock and Salk show at 7:10 because Mike usually gives some updates.
Yeah.
Or in Mike's press conference later that day. They seemed optimistic about Charbonnet. But and Charles Cross, it sounds like it was caution. They don't know what exactly it was. I wonder if he, again, sprained something, jammed something, but it didn't sound like they were too worried about it. So hopefully everyone's all good on that front.
Probably good to see him riding the bike in the second half, right? I thought
he was in full gear. He was in full gear. He didn't get out of it, so and riding the bike tells me that maybe he jammed up his knee and that was the issue. So hopefully we see him back. Dennis Assay news on Cross kind of just covered that as well. Mookie comes in. The 49ers lack team speed, and the Seahawks have the fastest defense in the land. This is true. And Colin Cowherd's made that abundantly clear on his shows. Like, if you just turn off the volume and just watch Seattle, he goes, they move faster than everybody.
Yeah, I think this is more, yes, the 49ers got destroyed by injuries, but I think this is more a testament of actually just how fast and how well drafted and developed this team is speed-wise. Like, even in Pete's final years, we all knew this was a very fast team. They were just poorly coached and not locked into the scheme. And now you have a fast team, a talented team that's locked into the scheme, and it's just created this monster.
Yeah, it really has. And this is kind of one of those things, right, where you look at it and you kind of wonder if this team could have been constructed this way with Pete, right? So, yeah, it'll be interesting. Seahawks fan 729 comes in. Where did you get that hat?
I've been looking at it since I saw this.
Yeah, no, this is one of my good collection hats that I have my lovely hat collection right up there beside the light. I've got some other good ones. By the way, this is definitely my new lucky hat, which is this one. We'll be wearing this for the remainder of the playoffs going forward. When I wear that and my Rivals shirt, the Seahawks do not seem to have problems winning football games, so I'm going to keep that tradition going. But this hat in particular, I got at the Westfield South Center when I was down in that area of Seattle. This would have been just before this would actually been around this time last year. Actually, I got this hat. So I got that at either was the Pro Image or the Lids in there, one of the two. But they had like every team in the old, shark tooth style. And so when I saw this, I was like, yeah, I kind of got to get this. So
it looks good, man. I like it.
Yeah. I will. I'm going to have to maybe put up a poll, Mike, on YouTube, on the community page, and even in the Discord, maybe, of what hats I take to Senior Bowl in a week now and a bit to wear when I'm covering the Seahawks at Senior Bowl this year. So that's one thing I'll have to do.
Just make sure you wear a Husky hat when you go interview Coleman.
Jonah Coleman's not even going now.
I know. That's such a bummer. That's such a bummer.
Flight 226. Bryce is a spicy today. Bryce, man. Hey, I am, you know what? I will be spicy and animated when I need to be. And there's a lot of receipts that I held on to that I made sure that I got kind of out and about today on people. So, yeah, we got Crunchy Fish Head in here. Goes, someone convinced the Rams to come out with a boom box and lipping to the fans added fire. Oh my God. That to me, like, oh, you come out with that and then you have what just happened, like
2 field goals.
Oh,
and the kickoff touchdown. Like technically the game, the Seahawks could have not played. They could have taken a knee the rest of the game and they still would have won 7-6.
No, that's very true, right? 13 seconds is all we needed to win that game, apparently. Yep. John McGrath, Darnold has already busted that lame narrative, in my opinion. He has for me too.
Not to the national media, though.
No, and the national media will keep doing this with the goalpost until he wins a Super Bowl or has a massive game against the Rams or something to their standard that they want to keep moving and changing the narrative. I feel like Sam could win this Super Bowl this year, Mike, and they'd be like, oh, he's Trent Dilfer 2.0.
Yeah, Trent Dilfer didn't play the elite quarterback, and you and I both love Rich Gannon. He was an MVP, like so underrated, but it wasn't the big name. Like Trent Dilfer didn't have to beat John Elway. He didn't have to beat Kurt Warner to win a Super Bowl then. Sam has to beat the MVP in Matthew Stafford to get to the Super Bowl. And then he probably has to beat the MVP runner-up or the MVP in Drake May to win the Super Bowl. So I actually do think this is lining up. It doesn't feel like it right now because I don't think we necessarily view Matt Stafford always in the same realm as the Big Ben, Phillip Rivers, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. But Matt Stafford is a Super Bowl away from having very similar stats as Peyton Manning and having the same amount of Super Bowl titles. Like, we're in the moment, but I think 5 years from now, we will feel that way about Sam. And then Drake Mays is starting his ascent, right? And so that's where it's just kind of an interesting moment here where, like, Jalen Hurts went to the Super Bowl and outplayed Mahomes and lost. But he earned that respect, and then he went back 2 years later and beat Mahomes. Sam has a shot, I think, to overcome this narrative. Now, if the Seahawks win next week 13-10 and then win the Super Bowl, 17-3, and it's all defense, then yeah, like it's probably going to be something where he does get that narrative. But I expect Matt Stafford to show up and play well. I expect Drake May, if that's who we play in the Super Bowl, to play well. And I think if Sam beats those two guys, I think the rest of the country can shut up and put some respect on Sam Darnold's name.
Okay, so I totally agree in everything you just said. I have nothing to add to that, Mike.
Okay.
But I got a really cool video that surfaced on the good old Twitter, and
love it.
It kind of it makes me smile inside a little bit. I think it will for you and for our fans. So this is from last night, and I think this is really cool. This is JSN going to a fan in the stands who has a belt.
Oh, I saw this. Yeah.
So you saw the side view, but this is him getting
this view.
This is him getting the belt. So he goes in the stands, gets the belt, walks back over.
Like it's got a
You
cape.
can tell that the equipment guy's like, oh gosh, JSN does this.
Yeah.
And I think this is just such a good, like the fan, like this is what I mean though. This team is so connected with the city, very much like the Mariners were too. Now he gives it to Big Cat. Now this is the part we didn't see. Big Cat goes nuts with it. And like the players are all laughing. Like you see D-Law and Chenna and all those guys.
Yeah.
Then they give it to Ernest.
Oh, that is not the guy I'd want to have. Yep. Yeah. And the stomp.
Like, and then you got Reek out there with it too on the Gatorade.
Gatorade.
Like, come on. This is just like, that's what's
feels,
by the way,
yeah.
It feels like, I'll say this. Reek Woolen having the bounce back he has had this year feels so good. So
absolutely
good.
No, it's a great testament, especially with how the season started. And now that dude's going to go get paid. And whether it's with the Seahawks, which I hope it does, or with someone else, like he has the Seahawks, because of his play, 1 win away from the Super Bowl. And he has reestablished himself as one of the premier corners in the NFL. And he deserves all the recognition for that.
Let's see what else we got in here before we've got Mookie with this. And this is actually a good point. The fan base showed up because the Seahawks product was worth showing up for again. Agreed. Completely.
Amen, Mookie. Amen. It's just like, it's like with the Mariners. You gave something for the fan base to come to the ballpark for, and both the fan base and the team was rewarded with a magical season. The same exact thing has happened with the Seahawks this year.
All right, we got a couple more donations. We got Jordan in here with $2. Height actually looked decent in my opinion. I 100% agree. Seattle may have found their swing tackle of the future. Like
what a nice financial find, right?
Well, and that's the thing. We're talking about a guy that started games at Alabama for Nick Saban, which is not an easy thing to do. Then transferred to UCF. He was a 4-star coming out. Like this is where I feel like some of the personnel decisions that were happening prior to Mike McDonald with Pete Carroll, you feel more of John's hands on this team and the fingerprints of the team, where I feel Pete lost connection with it. And I think Pete had great early success because he recruited all those guys in college, the Cams, the Sherms, all that. But as he got farther and farther detached from that, the more you started to see the problems come out, right? So, again, Jordan, thank you for the donation. And he actually comes back with a $5 donation. Thanks, you, Jordan.
Dude. That's awesome, man.
Eamon Warrior is going to be the X factor on D. 49ers were picking on him early. This is something I brought up in me and Dan's watch party. I thought Kyle actually did do a bit of a good job of. I think McVay might look at that and try and find ways to do it again. I think Mike will have Nick way more prepared for that going forward.
Yeah, if you remember, Nick got cooked on one of those goal line plays for a touchdown against the Rams on Thursday Night Football. Just totally bit on a run play and gave up his tight end for a score. I can't wait to see how he and Mike McDonald responds. I think that is with the full week to prepare and the Rams on short notice, it's just such a possible advantage for the Seahawks and Mike McDonald, man.
Totally agree. Peter Go Hawks comes back with another $5 donation. Goes 49er loss, close win, blowout. Rams loss, close win. What's next? Maybe another blowout in Lumen? Seemed like a pattern to me. You guys, you're killing it, guys. Thank you, Peter, again for your support. And maybe
Could you imagine? Because I was there in 05, and I still I was in the Hawks nest. I think I was like 12 or 13 years old with my dad, and that's the first time I ever had random adults hugging me, and like people were painting my face with silver and blue. Like that was a crazy party as a 12-year-old to experience, because there's no Panther fans at that game.
Yeah.
And the last 2 NFC championships have been absolute, oh my gosh, what's happening? How are we going to come back from this type of a game? And then we pulled it out of our asses both times. Could you imagine this season if it turns into an absolute ass whooping and just the party that's going to happen in those stands if this is a 3-score game in the fourth quarter?
This is what's really cool for me, Mike.
They're going to burn the city down, man.
And I'll be there for it. This is the great part. So I will actually be in the Seattle area on NFC Championship. I won't be going to the game because tickets are like crazy insane prices, but I am coaching actually my Sevens football team in the Seattle Tacoma area on the Saturday and the Sunday. So I will be looking, and I need anyone that's in the Seattle area or that area, Seattle Tacoma area. Please hit me up in the Discord with any sort of good places to go watch the game or anything like that. I'm going to be out looking for a spot. I'll have my gear on. So if we find a good spot that we can watch the game, feel free to come join and watch the game with me. And I think maybe Amy Holmes, our moderator of the Discord and of the main moderator of the Hawkside chat, will also be there. And we're going to watch the game. And who knows, you said, Mike, maybe we'll be sitting up on a nice high perch watching the blue and green just go through the streets of downtown Seattle on Sunday night. So it'll be kind of an exciting thing. We got another donation here from Pops. Goes, looking ahead, past Darnold and Clint Kubiak, who do we bring on to get Milroe going? I think, to be honest, you already have the guy here. Like, I don't know. Like, again, if Kubiak does leave, Kubiak may, like, I not hate to say this, but maybe this is Kubiak's only window to really be a head coach. Right? Like, he might not be a cup of tea for everybody, right? Like, he's not getting a lot of second interview requests. He's
not winning these interviews, yeah.
Like, Davis Webb is already getting second interview requests, right? Like, those are the guys. Shula, like, it seems like it might have passed Kubiak. Like, I was told Kubiak was very much in Atlanta's plans, but not so much anybody else. It might be Janoko and Kubiak that build up Milroe, but I said this to you, Mike. I've said it on Dan's show. I think there's a chance Sam Darnold could be the Seahawks quarterback for the next 6 to 10 years.
Yeah, I think I'm not trying to say this is all on him, win or lose on Sunday, but I think with a win, he's probably your quarterback into the early 2030s. Which,
again, he's only 28, right? Yeah. He's only 28. So if he's here 6 years, that's 34, which is when Geno left Seattle. So sorry, I said 10. 6 years, 6 to 7 years.
No, but I think 10 years. There's no reason to think if this is the start of something special, there's no reason he's not here at age 38. Like, it probably means him and Mike have done something that not even Pete and Russ could have even have done.
Yeah, that's very true. So here's a good one. John McGrath comes in. Locke will be gone before Milroe. Very true. I think this QB room is here next year as well because Locke is under contract. I don't think they will put Milroe in a position to be the backup next year because, again, they just had the club control.
If
Dennis
anything,
comes up.
Probably renegotiate Locke to lower his salary. Probably if
just like they used to do with Tavares, right? Exactly. Like they used to do with Tavares. Yep. Dennis comes in with Cake. If Clint leaves, is Justin Outen a coordinator or OC? So I brought up that idea last night where I could see a situation where maybe it's Jake Peets and do what the Bevel situation is. I think maybe with how good this running game has gotten, and this is something I've said for a while, like you and me have talked about the Mike McCarthy side of things when I brought him up. The running game is such a big piece to Mike McDonald, the ability to run the football, that I think Justin Outen might be the inside track in the building to being the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, because I think at some point you're going to lose Clint, and at some point you're probably going to lose Peets. And I think that's where Outen and Janoko kind of fill into that eventual offensive coordinator, and then Janoko's probably the passing game coordinator would probably maybe seems like a natural progression, or someone gets fired and wants to come on board. Like I know we had talked a little bit about Zach Robinson potentially coming on board if Kubiak left and stuff, but I think Outen probably has a really good shot. And I think this is turning into more of a 2027 season question because I really do think Clint Kubiak's going to come back next year.
Peter with another $2 donation. Clint Kubiak needs to stay for a three-peat. Too soon?
Too soon, but I love it.
I love the enthusiasm, Peter. Yeah. I absolutely love it.
Let's win 2 more games. Then we can start having those conversations.
We've got one here from John. I think Skitty goes, Milroe will eventually take over for Sam, and he will be more than ready for it by then. We won't miss a step QB-wise. I agree. I do think Milroe is essentially the future. Sam is going to be the present and immediate future. I think the long-term future is Jalen Milroe. Blue and Green Zone, good to have you in the chat. Goes, here's a question. Bryce, do you think Clint Kubiak held back play calling for playoffs? I believe it was teams changing their defensive play style. Everyone came out stopping the run. They started playing pass. You don't. So Dan kind of asked me this last night. You don't really hold things back as a coach. What you do is you have your base offense you install in mini camp and in the first bit of training camp, and you have your core set of like 50 or 70 plays. The likelihood you use those 50 and 70 plays throughout the season is kind of hit and miss. They won't be in your call sheet every week. You build off of those and you'll install 40 to 60 new plays a week out of the formations based on what that team is showing you and out of your, things. And you'll sprinkle in maybe like 5 or 10 of those base plays from training camp. So I don't know if he held anything back. It was more of maybe, I think it was a identity shift a bit. Remember the early in the season, teams were so set on stopping Seattle's run. Based on how it looked in the preseason, they loaded the box, and we got a lot of those cover one looking teams. Now you flip this. I think teams are now going too high, and I think we'll see a lot of too high shell in some respects from the Rams with some cover one robber in there where that one safety will shoot down, trying to get on those quick slants and stuff like that from the Seahawks passing game, which is where I think we can take advantage of those double moves. And that's where I think we'll see Clint's evolution and jump if he can. And so it'll be an interesting one. We got one here from Taco Tom. Never actually seen you in the chat, Taco Tom, unless you have a different handle and YouTube's not showing it to me or StreamYard's not, but welcome to the chat. Name the last receiver who was an MVP.
Wasn't that Jerry Rice?
I believe it was Jerry Rice. I'm trying to think of like playoff MVP. I think was maybe Larry Fitz when he went on his run that one year. Playoffs,
he didn't win the Super Bowl. Or are you talking about Super Bowl MVP? Then it's Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
I don't know if Jerry Rice won MVP ever, did he?
Well, Taco Tom is one. He is new to the chat, so welcome to the chat. And make sure to sub up. And he goes, no, but came close. I think that's to Jerry Rice.
Yeah, Jerry got second in 87. I'm looking at it. A lot of seconds.
That's a really good trivia call there, Taco Tom. I like it.
Well, now I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm actually curious myself.
No wide receiver has ever won the NFL's regular season MVP award, which it is ridiculous that Cooper Kupp did not win it the year
It's a quarterback award.
Then name it the quarterback award. Name it the Peyton Manning award.
I'll be honest. I lost, and this is kind of often a side tangent, but I kind of lost respect for most valuable player. I think it should be MOP, not MVP, for most outstanding player. And the reason why I say valuable player,
I agree.
There has never been a more profound statement of who the MVP of a team was than the year Peyton Manning missed with his neck injury.
Oh, yeah.
And the Colts went from being a perennial 10 to 12 win football team.
Yeah.
You took Peyton out, and the rest of that team was still there, coaching staff and all, and they won 2 games. You talk about most valuable, like that literally is the definition.
No, I couldn't agree more. Like that, I think the NCAA tournament, actually, it's funny, NCAA getting something right, but the MOP makes so much more sense than the MVP. Like, it reminds me, I think it was the year the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, or the year they lost Super Bowl. I think that was when Aaron Rodgers won MVP, right? J.J. Watt was the best player and had arguably the greatest NFL season ever. This dude had 20 and a half sacks. He had 78 combined tackles, 29 tackles for loss. And then just for fun, he decided to play some offense that year, and he caught 3 passes for 3 touchdowns. Like, that dude was unbelievable for a division-winning Texans team, and then they gave it to Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Rodgers had a good year, but like Aaron Rodgers stole MVP from 2 of the great seasons we've seen in our generation, 2021 Cooper Kupp with his Triple Crown, and then 2014 with J.J. Watt.
All right, we're gonna wrap this episode up tonight, guys. This show.
Did you see the John McGrath one there?
Yeah, I'm about to bring that up. Ian brings up a good one. He goes, I know where he'll probably retire, but I feel bad for Tyler. I wish he could have been a part of the team now.
Oh
Both
gosh,
teams
yeah.
to enjoy the ride. Yeah, like it's unfortunate. Tyler
It just
kind
didn't
of
work
had
with
this.
Shahid.
It's
Like,
funny,
because
but
after the Horton injury, you could have brought him back, but Shahid is
yeah.
souped up Tyler Lockett. It just wouldn't have made sense.
But the thing is, in this offense, your receivers need to get yak. Tyler never got yak anymore. Like that's the killing factor in this. But the thing I'll say is Tyler kind of lived the Steve Largent trajectory in a way, right? Top receiver on his team, one of the best in the NFL at his prime when he was there, but the team was never good enough to get to the Super Bowl. Right?
100%.
So
100%.
To the point of yours, John's that was pretty good. Peyton Manning 5-head award for getting receivers killed with his hospital passes. No thanks. This is a good call by Pops. He goes, Tyler does need to retire with us. Yes, I think he will retire with us when it's all said and done.
Yep, this offseason.
Oh, all right. Unless there's any last second donations or that, we'll get to the final whistle here on tonight's show. So, Mike, what do you have coming out this week on Field Goals?
Yeah, today my 4-down territory dropped, breaking down just how special last night was. So please go check that out. And we have so many other amazing things going on right now over at Field Goals post game of the absolute ass whooping of the 49ers. Tomorrow is the college football playoff national championship game. I will have an article out looking at the top prospects that fit the Seahawks and where they will be drafting. There are some pretty interesting names. You're at quite the crazy national championship tomorrow. You have the Indiana Hoosiers that are probably the overwhelming favorites, and they've got only a handful of guys that are probably going to get drafted after Mendoza. And then you got the Miami Hurricanes, premier blue blood in college football that everyone says has no chance tomorrow night, and yet they have a ton of draftable guys and a lot of guys in the trenches that are pretty interesting and stuff. And Mesidor is a name that I'll be writing about tomorrow that Bryce would love to get your thoughts on it as you look at some draft stuff as we go along. But Ruben Bain is going to be a top 10 pick. He's the guy getting all the talk for Miami, but his partner in crime, Mesidor, is an animal. He's an absolute freak. That's a guy I'm really looking at for the Seahawks as an edge, possible defensive tackle piece for the draft. But I'll hit on a few of the names tomorrow night. I hope it's a good game. I actually think Miami's got a good shot to keep that close, but this has been just the most magical season ever for Indiana, and it's hard to see them not finishing it off.
I agree, and I really like Cignetti as a coach. I think he brings – I think he'll be in the NFL. I think he'll be in the NFL sooner than later as a coach of an NFL team.
Do you think if the Raiders offer him the job, do you think he says no, or do you think he takes it?
Yes, I think he says no.
Would you say no?
I would say no too. I ain't touching the Raiders' job. Are you kidding me?
Even if it's your quarterback, you get to go in with.
Because again, this is where you look at Pete when Pete had come into the NFL. He never made a play to go get Matt Leinart. He never made Cignetti's going to know the weaknesses of Mendoza at the next level more than anybody. So
he did go get Mike Williams though.
He did go get Mike Williams and Lendell White, but that didn't work out so well.
I think the answer is Mark Cuban, right? If Mark Cuban's going to keep giving me a stupid amount of money to turn us into a blue blood for college football, I'm going to stay at Indiana, right?
This is very true. So, but over here on the Hawk side, it's going to be a little bit of a different week for me over here. Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, there won't be any content coming out, unfortunately. I'm at a work conference for those 3 days, so I won't be able to produce. But Thursday, trying to set up having Blaine Greasack back in from the Call Sheet podcast and writer for SB Nation with the Rams to preview that game. We'll have Seahawks Syndicate Thursday around 6 o'clock Pacific time. So myself, Dan Vians, Brandon Kane, Mookie Alexander back in. And then outside of that, it will be the show will be produced, everyone, but it won't be in this location. I will be producing the show, whether it is in a hotel on Seattle on Sunday night after the Seahawks hopefully win the NFC Championship game, or it definitely will be in Mobile, Alabama, starting on Tuesday, where I will be live on location at South Alabama University covering the Senior Bowl with Dan Vians, with Brandon Kane, and we will be doing live coverage there all week long leading up to the Senior Bowl game and hopefully also covering a bunch of news regarding the Seattle Seahawks berth in the NFC Championship. So up in the top left corner of your screen is the QR code, the link tree to all things Hawks Eye podcast, whether it's Spotify, whether it is YouTube channel here, or my Twitter, where you guys can DM me if you have any questions or things like that, or want to see the content I produce out there, as well as a GoFundMe for my trip to Senior Bowl to help with travel costs and hotels and such like that. So if you guys feel like you want to contribute to that and help me with my travel to the Senior Bowl, it would be greatly appreciated. But as always, I appreciate everybody. Oh, and one more thing that's in there is the new Hawks Eye Discord. So make sure you guys hop into that, where we have conversations going regularly over there. So I'm going to do one last thing here and check the chat. And before we get out of here, as we always do, stay loud, be proud, and go Hawks.
Go Hawks, guys.
Have a good night, everybody.